agenda is approval of the minutes from May 14th, 2024. And the minutes are here. Has everyone had a moment to peruse the minutes? I think they look good. Yeah.
Motion to approve the minutes of Tuesday, May 14th.
We have a motion to approve minutes from May 14th.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve minutes from May 14th. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and next up, we have the most fun time of the year, the FY25 budget overview, which is this document here. The general fund operating budget, is that correct, Tammy?
Yes.
All right. So I had a few moments to look at this ahead of time. Are you able to give us a high-level overview here?
It's pretty much what we went over, and you'll see the final budget at $14,427,960.13. With our revenues and expenses, I just did an estimation, pretty close. We're very tight with our budget. We're kind of off around 25,000, but I don't have all the new growth in there, so, you know, and I did on the low side when I did the estimation when I worked with the town accountant. So our budget is very slim, but it works.
All right, so what does this include for, so we had some changes that were anticipated in terms of the school, the Quabbin School District. Where are we with that number?
So that is 5.09%, and that's what I kept it at. That was the last one that they gave us.
And that was after the Senate Ways and Means update?
Yes, because it was at 8%, now it's at 5.09.
5.09.
It passed last night at Hubbardston as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, it did pass.
So, and it's, OCAM did their meeting, right? It passed in OCAM?
Passed, yep,
All right, so it is what it is.
yep.
Did we take into consideration the lease agreement for the fire truck that may potentially come onto the books in FY25?
So it is probably gonna definitely come onto the books, I would assume. Probably have a special meeting for that. So
Okay.
I don't know when it's getting over here, and plus we have to do the remainder. There's like $23,000 that we have to try to account for. And again, I'm hoping, you know, down the road, we'll see exactly where we are once
Okay.
the tax rate recap is completed.
Okay, so we don't, that's not in the budget here
It's not in
for
the
the
budget.
first payment?
No,
Okay.
no.
And if I remember correctly, the ambulance was gonna be funded from the opera funds?
Yes, that's
Okay.
already been,
That's already been taken care of?
yeah.
All of the department CBAs that were under negotiation or finalized in part of these figures?
Yes, they are.
So, the overall budget is $1 million over last year.
It is a little bit over, so obviously, as we,
$1 billion over, right?
13.5, 14.4, close to, probably about 900,000. We have to take into consideration though, right now, if you look at our accounts right now, we definitely under budgeted, which is why we're always deficit. So we have to take it, on this budget, you'll see that we took into consideration inflation, items that we always seem to go over. We have to take in consideration the heat, electric, all this has to be part of our operating budget, so you will see that all that came into play, plus, you know, the school went up a little bit as well. We have to take in consideration, you know, plus all the union contracts, we went up with all that. I mean, we definitely I feel we did a very good job with level funding, sticking with our 2.5, and with the unions being completed, we did it very well. We did very well with what we have.
So when you say the budget is tight, so we made up that $1 million, from 2024 by new growth, or how did we?
So I estimated by the cherry sheets, by the estimated receipts, which I think I gave you all those.
Yes.
And, indirect costs from water sewer, debt exclusion, 2.5 prop, taking all that. And like I said, I went over this with the accountant, so she helped me with all this. So the school budget is $7,278,176. Our budget ends up being $6,629,784.13, because we always use part of the ambulance reserve, which is part of the article you'll see in there, $520,000 to offset our budget, which Chief Rogowski did mention when he came and presented his budget. So, yeah. You're always gonna go up a little bit on your budget anyways, it's an unfortunate thing, but.
$1 million hit
Yeah.
in a fiscal year is tough.
Yeah, well, it was very under budgeted, unfortunately last year, so.
Over the last 5 years, we've been going up about 4% on average.
Yeah, we're always hitting
4%.
deficit, we
So I
do,
don't know. Some years we try to trim it,
yeah.
and then
You guys have another copy of this? I can check it out.
Is that an extra
Hey,
copy?
you can have that one.
So the fuel account, the town pays for all the fuel?
Yes. Plus the regional dispatch, that went up a lot.
Well, that was also part of a clerical error, right, with last?
It was, but still, a big significant difference.
And how about the capital, combined capital improvement ban? That's not noted, at least on the budget, as debt excluded, but that was voted as a debt excluded item.
That I'm not sure, I wasn't here, so I'm not sure of that, and I don't have Jake here, so, would you know that, John, about the debt exclusion?
I'm not sure on that one.
The capital, it was at the poll, like, it was, the town had a vote on it at the Legion and the Senior Center for the capital improvement ban. That was moved to debt exclusion to free up, funding.
Okay.
Let's get that cleared up.
So we wanna make sure that that's noted with the DE on the budget, and
So
then
what line would that be on?
that is last page,
The debt, principal?
debt, both principal and, interest, debt interest. So the account ending in 591126,
1126.
both of those should be, considered debt exclusions, cause we should have the revenue coming in for those separately as a debt
Okay.
excluded revenue.
Okay.
Is that noted on revenues?
So on my revenues that I came in, I have, debt exclusion here of 400,000, like I said, I did it with the town accountant, so,
Okay. So that should be
so
in there,
it
'cause-
is included.
okay. We just have to notation.
So I'll put this in under the 2.5.
This is under 2.5, correct? we're under 2.5, right?
Usually the numbers.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It is.
I mean, my opinion on that is, you know, the town's been finding money in buckets here and there, as you guys, everyone on the committee knows, you know, we had the landfill stabilization fund, you know, we had a windfall with some free cash a couple years ago, we've had ARPA, you know, CARES Act, those buckets are running out. So this trend of increased budget year over year is gonna eventually need to result in
Yeah.
either cutting budget or increasing revenues. You know, maybe not FY '25, but I think you look forward into FY '26, FY '27,
Absolutely.
that's a conversation that's gonna have to be had with the town.
I agree.
Speaking of free
Where-
cash,
Where's the ARPA money in that budget? So that-
You're gonna see
so
that in the
that's-
articles we have.
So the ARPA money is gonna disappear next year?
It needs to be appropriated by the end of this
Yeah,
calendar year.
it's paid.
So hopefully that was used for things that aren't yearly
I
expenses.
think we have a list somewhere.
We do have a list somewhere.
We can,
That backward bending curve.
we can, discuss that a little bit further when we get into the article, because it is on there.
Free cash. Where does it actually stand?
That's on the article.
Negative 62,000 is what we have for free cash.
But, I mean, are we catching up on it? I mean,
So
are we on
luckily, like I
schedule?
mentioned with the overlay surplus, like we talked about with the Board of Assessors being kind
Right.
enough to
Yes.
release 212,000, that should get us out of the red zone. So I'm hoping this year, with that being done, as long as the annual town meeting, we have the voters vote for it, that will help us at least get a fresh start. I'm hoping I can start getting our trend to go back up instead of continually going down like it has been over the years.
Well, not only that, but I mean, is the accounting and everything scheduled going according to the way it should be?
Yes, as of right now it is, is what
Okay.
I can see, yes.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I'm trying, very hard.
Good at it.
Dan, I have a question.
Yeah.
On the salaries for highway, water, and sewer, I see numbers have changed. Who made those
Would you like to
decisions?
answer that for the salary, John, for the 2.5%? So we stuck with the 2.5%.
So, who made the decision to change those? That's
John's gonna answer.
So that's what the select board has put on there. That's what we went through at our meeting. So the raises that incurred there are primarily based on the union contract. That's not something we can really change. Any other, across the town for the most part, anything that's not going under an MOU or a contract, we're trying to keep at the same percentage right now.
Okay, so if a department puts in a budget number, it goes before this board, and everybody is approved across everything, nothing's been talked about, who makes the decision to change things and does not notify the departments or department heads about changes in their budget prior to being put in on this paperwork?
I'm not sure the standard for notifying departments. Essentially, we have the public hearings, town meeting, it can be raised, right here it can be raised as well,
Yeah.
so.
I'm just saying, these numbers don't reflect the budgets that we all went over here at this table. I believe if you guys look into it legally, the water commission approves the budget, they have the right to put whatever they want in there. The sewer commission approves the budget, they're elected officials, same as the select board, they have the same powers for their department. The select board doesn't have any say over their stuff. I'm just not sure, like, where this goes in and how numbers get changed without talking to these people prior to, just throwing it in your spreadsheet.
Sounds like a legitimate question to me.
We talked with the attorney today, I don't know if you wanna mention about that.
So,
Well, I
as
think
far
the,
as the sewer and water goes, I don't think anything's been changed on the sewer and water side of it. Essentially, we're trying, so, as far as reaching out, I think, there needs to be discussion about that. I'm putting a list together for the DPW commission meeting of different items. But yeah,
Okay, So
I
you
think,
put
I
the
think that
list
was a
together.
miss.
All right, hold on, we're gonna
I'm
get
gonna
this
say
back.
that was a miss on my
Well,
part.
all right, we're good with that. So there are Jay, there's the department request columns,
Mhm.
Mhm.
all right? And then, so we're working off of the TA recommendation.
Yes.
All right, so that's what the finance committee will essentially look to see is, you know, the TA recommendation gives the town a balanced budget.
Yep.
So that's like what the finance committee will discuss here, but on your number that you submitted should be under the department request column.
It is.
You'll note, it was last year or the year before, it was the same situation with the school budget. There was what the school budget was, and then there was also what was recommended by the
The
Yeah,
town.
but there should be some communication between the manager that's.
yep, I mean,
That doesn't make sense. I mean, you wouldn't,
I don't think
Cut
we reached
the
out to the
police
school at
salary.
another time either, but we can definitely.
Well,
start
it has it
using
right
that.
on here as a department
It-
request, which is on there, and then the town administrator recommendation.
Right.
That is
There-
my
there will-
recommendation for fiscal. So the town
Yeah.
administration, the town town administrator recommendation. So my job is to make sure that we're getting
Okay.
fiscally responsible. I have to make sure that we are,
but usually it would be in
It's-
communication with the manager.
it's in here as a department request as to what the DPW.
So it's shown what it was requested at and what we're recommending.
Right.
That's how it's been done.
Right.
So I think we can work on communicating better with the school and with DPW. So,
That's, yeah.
yeah, we'll work on improving that communication going
Yep.
forward.
I don't wanna like derail the
aren't in here, so I
conversation.
can't see if they changed that.
Mm.
But it goes back to the same thing. Water and sewer budget doesn't fiscally attach to the town's budget. That's paid separately.
Correct, that's
So
the
I'm not
enterprise
sure,
funds.
you know, those numbers shouldn't change, so you have a balanced budget. That's not.
Mm.
I guess my question, the only question I have, when I look at it, you know, and I definitely understand what John's saying, so the school wanted X, we appropriated Z, and then, you know, at town meeting, they ended up getting X. Are we talking about salaries, or are we talking about like fuel accounts or something?
No salaries. Salaries.
Under roads and highways?
Yeah, water and sewer isn't in this list, I'm not sure if it's included on this.
I think almost all of the salaries are under the union agreement. So there's only a couple that aren't under that. And those, you know, for pretty much the entire town, if we're not entering into an MOU with someone or under a contract negotiation with them, we wanted to keep everyone at that 2.5%. That's what the town can do right now.
Okay.
Mm.
You've already over, so.
But when we go into these things and water commissioners and sewer commissioners agree to a raise, when we give DPW employees a 12% raise, but we're giving management a 2% raise, you know, when you have low man on the totem pole making more than the supervisor, that's kind of backwards. And unfortunately, this has happened for multiple years, and if you look into it legally, it's not legal for the select board to change any documents coming from water and sewer commissioners. So we need to get to the bottom of this, what we're doing is not proper.
I think ultimately what we absolutely need to do is put together an MOU between the select board and other personnel who aren't under the union. That's kind of our goal for a lot of positions in town, so that we have things that are clarified, so that it's established, negotiated properly, and not just numbers that are thrown out that are higher for some departments and lower for other departments. So I think ultimately, we need to do an MOU, or if certain other things pass the town meeting, we could do a full contract for some of the management at DPW.
I think we're getting the cart before the horse here, so that's okay, at least you guys are aware of what's going on. Thank you.
So, with that being said, I have, in terms of the future conversation about, some of the bylaws that are looking to be updated or changed. The Act of 1988 does say that the DPW Commission should put forth the wages, and this committee hasn't seen anything from the DPW Commission. You presented the budget,
Yep.
but we haven't received an approved DPW Commission that should be reviewed by the Finance Committee or the
And
Personnel Board.
I'll say as the vice chair, there was nothing that was put forward
Okay.
on that, as the vice chair of the DPW Commission. That's not something that's been done in previous years, it's something we should look at doing. I know according to that act, it's a recommendation to the personnel. I believe.
Well, the commission shall recommend to the personnel board a rate of compensation which shall be funded at annual town meeting. So that's what I'm saying, is the commission has not
Right,
provided a recommendation.
right.
That's right.
We need to address that going forward, but again, if we can get MOUs or contracts in place, I think that would be the best way to move forward for many, several personnel in town to make sure everyone's being fairly compensated and the town can handle those situations moving forward.
One more question while we're kind of on the subject of communication. We used to, as department heads, we used to always get the articles that are gonna be on town meeting, so if we had any questions, we could come and ask questions and be informed about that. We haven't seen any budget numbers from town administrator's office. I know myself, the police department, the fire department has not received any of this stuff. I checked on it all today before this meeting. That's one reason, I'm here, was to see what was going on, because we haven't had any information passed out and about.
Well, didn't the chair give it to
So-
you? Did Maureen give it to you? I thought she had given you the numbers.
No, I mean,
No.
usually it'd be an email to every department head in town.
Well, I am
Let
new at
us
this, so
know.
I've only been here for six
I'm
months,
sorry I
so
wasn't
I
aware
would
of that
not know
either. We'll
that.
make sure everyone has it by tomorrow.
And honestly, I'll be honest with you, I just got everything put together, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
been time constrained for
We'll
me.
make sure it's out to every department for tomorrow.
This,
This is the
we,
first time we've seen it also.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
said, it's just, it's a lot.
Maybe it could say draft.
well, I know again by town code, right,
Well,
like,
it doesn't have to
the
be
finance
in
committee is supposed to receive
No.
all the articles to review ahead of time, and then they should be published to all departments ahead of the public hearing. So we'll have the public, we will have the public hearing next week.
It just
I do agree,
expired last year.
We'll have
that
this published as-
communication, we need to get on that path of.
I think it's well presented, though, showing the TA recommendation.
Yes.
Showing the original request of the department. Every department every year wants more and more and more.
Right.
So it's fair to change, to adjust these numbers.
And
In the process of coming up with a budget.
It's very hard to come up with a budget that we're gonna be able to actually fiscally be responsible on, so.
To mirror what
Yes.
John's saying, and I know they're not free, a wage study, they cost $40,000, it's, we see it being pieced together, this one needs a little, this one needs a little, and this one, and in a perfect world, the wage study would show, this one's paid in line, this one's underpaid, this one, and it's not corrected overnight, it does take a long time,
And,
but,
as far as, looking into grants go, I think, One Stop for Community Growth could be a good option next year
Yeah.
to try and pursue that, get some funding for that.
yeah.
We
We've
submitted
actually
for
talked
something
about it.
different this year, but that would be a good one to have on the docket for next year.
They're a little cheaper, I think there's a big outfit that does them,
Okay.
but they're like 25, they're not
I
free.
think there's
One
actually a
Stop for Growth
grant.
usually can provide, I think, up to 80,000 towards
wow.
different projects, it's somewhere around there. So I know we applied for around 57,000 for rezoning study this
Right.
year.
Yeah,
So we'll, fingers crossed we'll get
I
that.
think there's a grant in August too that I'm gonna be watching out for wage classification, cause it's very
I'm at the
important.
Barre Taxpayers Association meeting, but
Us too.
if, if I could get everybody from there to come here, it might be smart for them to listen.
we missed you, Sam.
Unless you're gonna be here, only 2 more minutes.
No.
I doubt that very much
Thanks.
today. All right, so, all right, I think we can agree communication. Now, if, there is rules though, like we went through this in terms of salary, when interim, Mr. Belaconis was here. And that's what I don't know. I don't know the answer, right? Like, I know the town has rules in place on like steps, levels. I don't know your contract or your agreement with the town. I think, if the salary increase is not in line with the policy, that should definitely be something that should be rectified.
We have
And-
wage classification, and
Yes.
we're working on
Yeah.
that as well.
100%.
That's why, like John was saying, taking some out, putting them in MOUs and or contracts is,
But we have some sort of classification
and we
process.
absolutely do, yes, we do,
Okay.
yeah.
And that's always been adjusted by the wage salary put on this.
Mhm.
That's how they're always adjusted.
Okay. Going off of the recommendations, if we went, let me ask this question, if we went with every department funded as requested, the budget would not be balanced, correct?
Right, right.
kind of thinking about what Dan said a few minutes ago, you know, we've had all these cash windfalls, and the other night hearing you guys, take money out of ARPA, I love it, I love that there's that money there. I get nervous when it's not there,
Me
you know,
too.
and it's like,
It's not gonna be there for a while.
Yeah.
So,
And wage, yeah,
For it to go away.
If I could just, one second.
sure.
Yeah, so if you look at the department requests and the TA recommendations,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's only off by
Yeah.
$5,000. That's
Yeah.
basically just my number, that's in there. So it doesn't look like anybody else's budget's gonna change besides ours.
so you look like a 12% raise, I'm trying to keep everyone at a 2.5% raise, and that's why that had happened.
Yeah, we did a,
So you think that the janitor that works here should be
He's
making
actually
more
moved
money
up a
than-
step,
than
he moved up a
yourself?
step. The
Or should-
janitor,
Should be making more than you?
the janitor moved up a step, and he only is at 2.5% raise, so.
I'm sure that wasn't my question.
Well, I don't know how you would consider me and the janitor the same thing, so.
Okay, that's, thank you.
Fair?
That's fair here. I think that's slightly different, just as I think what we're
Okay,
talking about here, so.
okay.
wages are a challenge,
Yeah, I'm not-
yeah, yeah,
just-
it's,
We want some clarification, that's all.
I know since I've joined the finance committee here, we've been struggling with increasing the wages of all the town associates to get everybody to a living wage that's comparable to surrounding towns. The impact you can't do that in one stroke in 1 year, because the impact to the taxpayer, we need a 2.5% override. So I know the town started a couple years ago, we've done a few departments with a higher than average increase to bring them up to that wage that we're discussing. I feel that should definitely be a conversation that should be had amongst you, the commission, and finance committee, select board, so that way we can get all that brought into line. I'm not sure if, there's always the option to bring it up on town floor,
Yeah, exactly.
you know,
That's fine.
and we have to backtrack from there.
I was just curious how the
Mhm.
process was
No,
and all
understood.
that.
Any other questions on the budget? We don't have to vote on the budget today, correct? I mean, I would just like a public like maybe to our public hearing to digest everything here. And fully, I mean,
Yeah.
I'll take the recommendation from the committee
We
on
only
that.
had an hour or so to look at it, so I guess you're right. We should,
I don't think
Mhm.
last year we voted
To the
until the
public hearing.
day, yeah,
Yeah, probably, yeah.
yeah. I think like an hour before we
Mhm.
actually,
Right, there's usually a meeting right before town meeting.
yeah.
Yeah, it's traditional, and then we tend to offer some recommendations at public hearing as well in the past, so,
Is it true that yours budget is the only one that was adjusted?
Looking at those.
I kept everyone, so no one really asked, most of the, that I had asked for 2.5%, no one really came in and asked me for 12% like Jason did. They all understood that I'm trying to be fiscally responsible and took my recommendation at 2.5%. I mean, we can go ahead and bring them all in, they'd all probably ask for 12%, and then we can do the 2.5, we could do that too, because that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
That's what I get nervous about, just trying to be fiscally responsible.
If I may say one more thing.
yeah.
I believe if you look back in the past few years, every department in town has had over a 12.5% increase, so, except for my department. So to be fiscally responsible and fair, if you wanna look into past practice, I think you'll see that the police chief, the fire chief, your position included, has all been over a 12.5% increase. So in all fairness, you've done this a couple different times here without any adjustments, so.
So the chief is all the other employees are union contracts and yours is not.
Right.
That they should.
That's-
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the police chief is contract negotiated with the
Yes,
select
yeah.
board,
Yep.
fire chief as well.
And he
Right.
also only got a 2.5%, so just,
Okay.
But they're-
police
This-
chief
This
also.
year,
Yeah.
Well,
Let's
again,
look at-
Jay, I don't know
let's
what
look at
happened
last
last year, I don't know if you wanna speak up, I was not here last
Um,
year.
I will
told you
add,
the last contract was-
when the, Tammy's position got increased, Tammy wasn't a person.
right.
You know, it was, they increased it to hire,
Yeah,
like,
you-
it
you-
wasn't like,
No, absolutely.
you know.
You gotta look at the position, not the person,
Yeah.
you gotta take the person out of the equation.
Yeah.
The,
I guess the part I'm confused about, and I did watch the meeting on the 22nd, and I was here the other night. You know, it seems like a huge communication breakdown.
Huge.
If a board approves a raise, I don't understand how it can get unapproved. Like, that's the confusing part.
So, there was no raise that I'm aware of that was approved by the commission. There was no wage that was approved by them, by us. I don't recall that coming up, I don't recall that in any of the meeting minutes. There was one meeting I missed in the last several months, and I don't believe that was on those minutes, I'll have to check those again.
It wasn't, I was at all of them.
I can't imagine we live in a world where Jake gives himself a raise on a piece of paper and it like happens, like it comes through, and like, that's the confusing part on my end, and it's like, and I'm gonna mirror what Dan said on the communication. It just seems like, you know, we all need communication at this
Yeah.
point.
But yeah, I don't believe there was anything authorized or discussed with the DPW commission as far as raises go.
Well, usually the budget's done individually, so the water approves their budget, sewer approves their budget, the selectmen go over our budget. So that's why I was curious if you guys had looked it over and made a decision, or if Tammy just made a decision on her own, so.
Well, it's the TA recommendation, but we did go over it together.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't make any decisions
the
without
re-
going to the select.
that's so the recommendation, right, is what she recommends, finance committee should look at the budget, offer their favorable recommendation, same thing with the select board. And then ultimately it goes to town meeting for the town to approve and or amend
Right.
any, it's a task of the finance committee to bring forth a balanced budget. Unfortunately, I don't know what that means in terms of that $5,000 in the wages. Let me ask you this. Did the commission approve wage increases through water and sewer enterprise?
They have approved the budget, yes.
And that had the same level of increase that
Same
was
level of
presented?
increase, yeah.
Okay.
So it's only a third of that line item that's actually through.
Yeah, no, I understand, yeah, yeah.
They're through the, they're all through the union though, right? Is that what?
No, we're talking about approving
Oh,
the budgets
approving.
we submitted.
Oh, okay.
However,
Again, that's not even what's here, I just happened.
Yeah, no, it's valid points, and this is the most robust conversation this committee's had in a while, so I appreciate it.
I do believe that under the current act, does the personnel board, the commission shall recommend to the personnel board the rate of compensation. So that does have to go through the DPW commission, it can't be individually satisfied by select board or by.
You have a meeting coming up, right?
That's easy enough to do, yeah.
So the folks that work on the sewer and the water committee, they're all mostly union?
They're all union, yes.
They're all
Yeah,
union,
except for
and
myself.
you're the only one
Except for myself, yeah.
that isn't covered by that contract.
Which is I would like to do.
We have to fix it
We do.
somehow.
Yeah, Jason definitely, I believe, should have an MOU of some sort, obviously.
Well, I've been here 15 years, it's always been offered to me to have a contract. I've never felt the need to, I think that's a waste of money for the town to get lawyers involved. We're all adults, we
No,
sit
I
down
don't
at the
think it's a
table,
waste of
figure out what we're gonna do, that's how it's been for 15 years. I still don't see the problem with that, we have a couple individuals that might have personal vendettas and go against the way the world should be, but that's okay. It's the majority of people, so it's not a problem.
I don't think there's any personal vendettas at all.
That's what, that was my opinion, so.
Oh, that's,
Is anyone on the committee, we'll move along. You have a question, Mr. Lipson?
No,
Okay.
I came to listen.
All right, I thought you had your hand
I
raised, and
came to be entertained.
yeah.
you're the right place.
All right, so, is anyone opposed to digesting the budget and providing a recommendation at public hearing?
I am not,
No.
yeah.
Okay.
I think that's probably,
All right.
Good idea.
Okay, so we will move on in the agenda. We will move on to the annual town meeting warrant review and recommendations, and this is where we will go through and offer our recommendations. As we get into this, has the select board offered recommendations on any of the articles to date?
On some of,
Several of them.
Not
sorry,
that
go ahead.
many. Not that many.
Yeah, I think there were a number that that we'd like to see the finance committee's recommendation on, there's others that we.
We'd like to see the selectmen do it.
What's that?
We want, So as we go into this, I kind of like do a little spiel every year, you know, just to refresh some of our newer members like Zach to the finance committee, you know, and just to understand as we go through this, you know, one of the goals of the finance committee is not only to, you know, overview and help interview the departments in town to understand their budget needs to operate effectively and efficiently within a fiscal responsibility. We're also tasked with providing an objective viewpoint for all elected officers, appointed officials within town, and offer the town recommendations for articles at town meeting. So, my suggestion is, look at everything with an objective viewpoint as we go through this. All right, and we're off to Article 1. I think this is pretty common, right? Choose town officers. See if the town will vote to choose all other town officers, agents, committees not elected by ballot or appointed, or take any other action relative thereto.
Motion for favorable action.
I have a motion for favorable.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor? Aye.
This one should in the first page, so.
Okay. Oh, actually, I do have a question. I didn't realize this was attached. The capital stabilization fund amount was not listed. Do we have?
Oh, I do have that, sorry. Wasn't on the other one. $250,481.86.
Sorry, 250.
481 and how many cents?
$250,431.86.
31, 431.86.
Yeah. I'll put that on though.
Okay. All right, this is actually, I didn't realize it was 2 pages. This shows the free cash, the stabilization, ambulance receipts, all those other pieces, and then the capital stabilization funds, which is important because that's gonna come into play. Was there, I know we marked favorable, but was there any questions? I know somebody had questions on ARPA earlier.
Well, I was just wondering if that's gonna come in office next year, when, because we're.
No, we gotta suspend it.
It's almost
It's
pretty
gonna
much
go away
expended.
next year.
That's what we have right now, because the board has approved items already, they just have not been taken out yet, because
Okay.
I've been in the process of doing this, so.
Do we know like what's essentially left within that fund?
Not much, I know that, I can't tell you exactly how much though, I know you got minus the 200 for the park, 75,000 for rice, I mean, we're down there, we're getting slim pickings, so.
Okay. All right. Off to Article 2, reports from committees. See if the town will vote to accept the reports of the Select Board, Finance Committee, School Committee, and any other department or committee and act thereon, or take any other action relative thereto.
Motion for favorable action.
We have a motion for favorable.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Article 3, payment of bills from a prior fiscal year. See if town will vote to transfer from available funds some of money paid for bills of a prior fiscal year or take any other action relative thereto. And this says there are no bills of a prior year to be approved by town meeting.
Oh, that's a good thing.
So we can pass over. We wanna make a motion to pass over?
Yeah, I'll make a motion and pass over Article 3.
Motion to pass over Article 3,
Second.
and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Article 4, to see if the town will vote to transfer from any available source of funds sums of money to be added to departmental budgets and appropriations for the fiscal year ending on June 30th, 2024, or take any other action relative thereto. Any FY24 budget transfers will be addressed through interdepartmental transfers by the Select Board and Finance Committee at the end of the current fiscal year.
But we don't know what those will be yet, right?
We usually
Yes.
sign off though, no, is
Yeah,
that?
at the end, I had asked, the accountant's department, and they said that I don't put anything here, and you do it at, like, you had said,
After the town meeting, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
That's, we have to show up and sign something, I remember.
Yeah, cause that's gonna be, well, there's the shortfalls, right,
Right.
with the FY '24 in terms of the animal control officer, Rutland Regional Dispatch, as well as, some of the CBAs that were approved. So those will have to be cleaned up with transfers, correct?
Yes.
I think it would do the town well to have a favorable.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's,
A favorable action on Article 4.
we have favorable action on Article 4, a motion,
Second?
and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Article 5. So this is snow and ice removal, and I think this is
So
coming
what
up.
is on here, yes.
later on our agenda.
We can talk about it in the agenda when it comes up.
Yeah.
But usually they take from free cash, but unfortunately, as we all know, we're negative on that, so we can't take from that. So I did put it on the agenda. After this, we can probably discuss that.
Okay, so Article 5, since it's coming up later in our agenda, I think we should pass over.
Okay, motion to pass over.
We have a motion to pass over Article 5.
Second.
We have a motion second to pass over Article 5, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 6, the water enterprise budget. So this is an article that, so this brings up a good question, since we're talking about salaries. So are we saying that the salaries in Article 6 match?
I don't have that in front of me. I don't-
Okay.
It doesn't have
So-
the requested on there, so.
So I did base it on 2.5%. Again, I went through the select board with them on that. And everything on here, I took Jason's expenses
You talked about that at a select board meeting?
We went through that individually.
individually,
I went through it
however
individually.
and so did Maureen.
I
You and Maureen
don't
did.
know what Maureen went through with you.
Yeah, you and
What-
Maureen, I did.
Okay, so it wasn't.
That
talked
was
about at
in
the meeting.
helping her determine her recommendation, the TA recommendation.
Yeah,
The
and
recommended
what they
amount.
had,
Okay.
I took in what they had said as well, so. But anyways, this is the numbers that I had come up with the water receipts, retained earnings, and then the salaries, commissions, stipends, expenses, water replacement, water upgrade and direct costs. I got those numbers from Jake. Obviously expenses have to equal revenue. And that's what that is.
So since we had this, since this is part of like a conversation now and later, and this article is sponsored by the DPW Commission. Right, did the DPW Commission provide a recommended number to the town
The
for the article?
DPW commission hasn't discussed this yet.
So, okay,
And again, the DPW commission would not discuss
What
the water
do we do with these?
article or sewer article.
We see it under here, it is sponsored by the DPW commission.
Well, that's just
I think
whatever.
you're making motions.
Right.
Whatever she was.
So typically, this isn't discussed by the DPW commission.
Right, they never have.
So, did the water commission?
They were familiar with the budget and approved it.
They did. You sure?
Yeah, I can, I'll take a look through water and sewer, minutes to make sure that.
Well, just to make sure somebody's looking at it, yeah.
Absolutely.
So this is water, not DPW.
That's what it should be.
well, it's the water enterprise budget, but the water enterprise budget, if, you know, you wanna get nitty-gritty into details, right, the department shall have all powers and duties now vested in or exercised in the following departments: the highway department, water department, sewer department, and parks and recreation department.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, Tammy, but I don't believe anything changed in the water enterprise budget portion, did it? Or did that?
Just the 2.5% salaries, everything else is the same. So everything with water receipts,
So you changed the
so you have to,
salaries in the water.
again, after talking with the select board, Jason, I just
Okay.
didn't just make the
But
changes
again,
myself.
back to legal, the select board has nothing to do with the waterfront.
Again, you can speak with the select board on that, okay?
But it's only, so the 2.5% salary is only you.
Right.
Everything else is
Everything else is up
union.
to.
It's not just him, it'd be Shannon too.
And your salary is shared by,
By the three
Three
departments.
different
Yes.
departments.
Myself and
So it's
the admin.
so it gets complicated, but nothing has changed except for that.
And just always keep in mind, we have other employees that are getting 2.5% that are obviously gonna want more as well, so we might have to go back and readjust the whole entire budget might have to go to a 2.5%. I don't know, cause I know this is gonna really open up a can, so just keep that in mind.
Mhm.
'Cause-
Well, it's been, since I've been here, this has been kind of status quo, right? And, so, you know, I believe with the future articles, the can's kind of been opened here,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
So,
That's why it's questionable.
it's all relative to processes that should be followed, I guess, by the current act that is looking to be, right, repealed or abolished, I think is the terminology. But maybe that's why, maybe the commission's not doing the job, I don't know.
And I
So
did look
maybe
at
they adjust
last
that.
year's, and
Or-
they were all the same, so everyone was 2%, and that's what was on the, water and sewer was 2%. This is 2.5, cause that's what everybody I had asked to schedule, so.
Mm,
I'm going by